This is going to be fun, Jeff. It's our Christmas Eve edition of our show, and we've got somebody who's helped make this show possible for us for years. The Heart of Sport's been proud to be powered by the hardworking men and women of the operating engineers in ELAC 825. Today, we get a few minutes to talk to the business manager of the International Union of Operating Engineers, Local 825, Greg Lalevee. Greg, thanks so much for the time. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks, Jason. Thanks, Jeff. It's great to be here.
It is a blast to get to talk to you. Since you started supporting the show, I have joked with you and other people on your team about the role that you all play in sports that nobody actually sees, separate from your members being fans and stuff, which we'll get to. We wouldn't be able to go to a game without the operating engineers, would we? Can you tell us a little bit about you guys?
Sure. We're primarily known as heavy equipment operators. So you'll see us building the roads, the bridges, the rail lines, water, sewer, gas infrastructure, just about anything you can think of. Operating engineers touch the lives of everyday people more than you might imagine. It's a great occupation to have because we build things and we leave something behind when we're gone and get to visit and revisit it for years.
What's it like to build something and then see people go in and enjoy it?
It's awesome. It's amazing. I'm the son of an operating engineer. So one example I could give you is my father worked on the Spruce Run Reservoir. My daughter used to race sailboats on the Spruce Run Reservoir. So that's a lake that wouldn't have existed had it not been for the needs of New Jersey and the water supply and the foresight of people to build a reservoir to have drinking water, but also to be able to use it as a recreational area. So that's kind of a neat thing. I drive my kids crazy because I worked on the Frank Lautenberg train station in Secaucus. And if we go through that station to the city, they don't like to point out all the things I put there when I was operating a crane. So that's a fun part of what we do.
You know, you talk about operating a crane. We see these stadiums rise from nothing to be places that fans have so much enjoyment. What's that like for you as an operating engineer to see it go from a planning stage to a finished product where people are in there rooting on their teams?
It's awesome. So I ran the crane that put the Cure Center in Trenton, New Jersey. At the time, it was primarily looked to for the Trenton Titans hockey team. So to go to a game there, or I took my daughters when they were younger to Disney on Ice at the Cure Center, to walk into a place that you actually had a major part of putting where it exists is an awesome feeling to just look around and see what the finished product is, to think about everything that went into the engineers and architects who designed it and made sure that everything worked out. The city that had to plan it and why. For the Cure Center to bring tourism into Trenton and stimulate the economy. So to sit there then later as a patron and to look around and, know how some of those things got there, or know some of the faces of iron workers or carpenters or laborers that worked along with you, it's just really a great feeling.
All right. So this is a sports show. We're going to talk a little sports because poor Jason, now, even though he gets to celebrate his Eagles victory over the Pop Warner WFT team, now has to play a real team on Sunday, even though, well, we're without our quarterback too, it appears. So tell us a little bit about your fandom.
Well, you're talking about football. So my fandom in football is the New York Giants. Yes, we get to brag about a win over the Eagles a couple of weeks ago, but I was at that game, watched it. It was a tough game to watch. It was two offenses who really couldn't get much done. I don't have a lot of faith in the Giant offense these days. While Daniel Jones is out, Glennon hasn't looked like an answer. Jake Fromm showed some promise over the weekend, but he was put in at a time when it didn't really matter. So even if Coach Judge gives him the start, we don't know what we'll see when he's really taking snaps at a time that's critical and matters.
Jeff tells me it's all about your offensive line because I said, I don't understand it. You guys have some weapons and you just can't give your quarterback any time to do anything, regardless of who it is, Glennon or Jones or anybody.
No, that's true. And any good team always has a great offensive line to protect the quarterback, to open up holes for their running back. They are really what makes an offense go day in and day out on a football team. And to construct one takes some time, takes some free agency pickups. So hopefully we get to do that before Daniel Jones comes back next year and protect them a little better.
Jeff tells me that the fact that the Eagles rushed for over 175 yards for the 7th week in a row, I shouldn't pay any attention to because all those teams sucked. Should I not pay attention to it that it might happen this weekend? Or, and I'm not, look, in fairness,
No, because the Giants defense sucks.
Jeff will tell you,
Yeah.
I thought the Eagles were going to have 6 wins this season. I did not have any expectations for this team. They've been better than I thought. So it's all gravy at this point for me. I would love to see them do well, but I didn't think there'd be anything.
Whoa. Wait, time out. You always have low expectations for your teams.
That's the story of being a Phillies fan. This way, you can't be disappointed when your team fails to achieve the things they say they will, because you didn't have any expectations they would actually do it. So, Greg, I know you guys get your hopes up there with your teams to be disappointed. I, on the other hand, just lower things down a little bit, and then it's all good. But it's not just rooting for your teams. With the operating engineers, you guys do different marketing partnerships. Can you talk about the ability to support those teams and what it's like for you to partner with them? I know with the Jets, there's field goals, there's other partnerships that you have. What's that like for your organization and membership?
Well, it's great exposure for us and for our members when the Jets do the public address announcement that we support a contribution to the Jets Foundation with every field goal. I get text messages from friends, neighbors, my friends in other construction trades. It's just a cool thing to have happen. We partner with both the Jets and the Giants. We've built MetLife Stadium. We built Giant Stadium before it. We get the opportunity to give tickets to our members to games. So whether they're a Jet fan or a Giant fan, we get to send them to the game. And for some of those people who also worked on those projects, it's an immense sense of pride to walk into the stadium, to know you had a part of putting it there. It adds to the electricity of going to a football game.
MetLife Stadium is kind of a marvel. It's a really big football stadium. When you got to see what it was going to be like, what that stadium was going to be like, what's it like as a fan to see that you're going to be part of something where you're going to then go in and cheer on your team?
Oh, it's incredible to go there at the beginning. A little melancholy when you actually turn around and take down the old Giant Stadium, because that was part of the overall project. And you think about all the great memories there and a couple of great Giant teams that played in that stadium. But to walk into MetLife, whether it's the Giants or the Jets, it's a great thing in that stadium to have 2 pro teams. So there's a game every weekend. So there's a lot going on. And the way it stimulates the local economy, the bars, the restaurants, even the tourism, the traffic coming in and out, people on the railroads, it's a big economic boon to the region. So on a number of levels, it's just great to be part of what goes on at MetLife Stadium on a day-to-day basis.
We talk a lot of football. You are also a big college basketball fan, among other sports. You and I have had plenty of fun talking about it. Jeff, Greg's got great ideas for like a New Jersey tournament with all the teams from the state playing at the different buildings around the state.
Does that include Rutgers?
It does.
Yes, oh, absolutely.
Going to allow to play, Jeff. So, Greg, you should know that we had Leroy Horde, who Jeff knows from Michigan, who won the MVP in the Rose Bowl. And at the end of our interview with him 2 weeks ago, he said he followed the Rutgers rule, which Jeff can't get over, which meant that he bet against Rutgers every time that season and won the majority of his bets, which I totally understand. So Jeff gets a kick out of the Rutgers side of things. You're a Monmouth man, though. You're a Monmouth season ticket holder. You go to lots of games. Your daughter goes to Butler. On this show, we talk a lot about family and the impact that sports has on family. You're one that goes with your daughters and that goes with your family. What's that like to experience those games and have that fun together for you?
Oh, it's great. My oldest, her first couple of years at Monmouth is when they went on 2 really good runs in a row, rang up some good wins. We're a well-regarded team. Since then, I bought into having season tickets there, so you'll find me in Oceans First a lot. But I mean, you look at this year's team is an exciting team to look at. A lot of upper class leadership, guys like Marcus McClary, George Pappas. They added graduate transfers in Walker Miller and Shavar Reynolds. So they've got a good thing going. They're 10-2, best start in school history. Rung up some great non-conference wins. They've beaten Towson, Lehigh, Princeton. Sorry to say to you, Philly guys, they beat St. Joe's. Even bigger, they've got wins at Cincinnati and at Pittsburgh. And their only two blemishes are
That hurts, Jeff.
UNC.
That one hurts, Jeff. He's a Pittsburgh guy too. So that's a shot right there, Greg. Well done.
Yeah.
Well, and you know what? Don't go too much down on Rutgers. You know, they rang up #1 Purdue a couple weeks ago. So,
well, look, the one thing that I've always said about Rutgers is somebody who grew up in North Jersey is, well, down here, everything's North Jersey, like north of Trenton. But it is Rutgers building is one of the best basketball arenas in America. It is loud. It doesn't matter how the team is, but you're right. The team is good this year.
And Coach Piquel, I think, is a very good basketball coach, and they sputtered a little bit for a week or two, but they're going to get their act together, as the game against Purdue showed. I think they're going to be formidable when the Big Ten season comes. Big Ten's a great conference, and you're right. The RAC is an awesome arena to walk in and watch a game. It has an electric atmosphere. The Rutgers fans are loyal, loud, and true. But you know, Jason referenced my daughter going to Butler. Almost nothing compares to walking into Hinkle Fieldhouse. If you're a college basketball fan, your hairs will stand on end. You can feel the history. The Indiana people love their basketball. The Butler fans are just incredible. So to walk in there when I go visit my daughter and we're figuring out what game it's going to be this year is an incredible feeling. They're a good team. They have their history. You know, they're off to a little bit of a rocky start, but Coach Laval Jordan's he's another one with great senior leadership there with Aaron Thompson, Bryce Golden, Bryce Enzi, Jair Bolden, a couple of real good young kids, and Jaden Taylor and Chuck Harris. So, you know, they've gotten beaten badly a couple times, couple bad games. They had a tough loss to Michigan State at Hinkle. They had a tough loss to Houston. They got beat pretty good by Purdue in the Crossroad Classic. But on the other side, they have a nice win going into Norman, Oklahoma, and knocking off the Sooners. So, you know, looking up there. And for you Philly guys, you know, Nova had a nice win last night over a well-regarded Xavier team. So don't be completely down on Philly, Jason. The Villanova Wildcats are alive and well.
I would never be down. And look, when we need a basketball breakdown, Jeff, I think we know who to call now.
That's right. So actually, I do have a quick question as a Michigan guy. Laval Jordan was an assistant under John Beeline. When he was there, he was regarded as a really good recruiter and a really good assistant coach. Do people at Butler love Laval Jordan?
He's an alum, so of course, you know, he's part of the family. There was a rocky year there where they had a tough year. He is a good recruiter. He's brought in great young talent. You know, this transfer portal thing, though, I think is a danger. It's tough to groom young players. You know, you have a guy like Aaron Thompson, a great upper class leader. You know, do the younger underclassmen learn from him, or do they get impatient and throw themselves into the transfer portal? I think it's something that college sports has to look at as far as just players being able to bounce all over the place. So Coach Jordan is a good recruiter, and he does attract good talent into his team, and they'll be a success over time. And I think things are looking up this year. He's got to get it together. He's got a good problem. He's got a lot of really good players on this team. He has to figure out his rotation and where everybody fits.
We talk a lot about the transfer portal on this show, a lot about the coaching movement. So you're right in the wheelhouse where we've been. I do want to close on sort of the social side of sports. You've got members all over the state. They're fans of all different teams, and they all come together and give each other a hard time. Let's talk the social side of sports for your membership. How important is it, those rooting interests that they bring to it? It helps make up who they are, right?
Oh, it sure does. And it's a lot of fun. You know, we have our meetings in Southern New Jersey where most people are Philadelphia-based fans. I grew up in Central New Jersey where, you know, I root for mostly New York teams. So, you know, there's just the collegial joshing back and forth and busting chops. You know, the other thing we can't ignore is we have a significant part of our membership that's of Portuguese and Hispanic descent. So soccer is a sport that we can't completely ignore either anymore. You know, those guys love their teams. They love getting together and watching soccer on the weekends. So, you know, we focus a lot on what we grew up with the major sports. but we can't ignore some of these things are, as the sporting rooting interests are starting to diversify amongst sports, not just amongst teams.
Well, we're going to have to add soccer into the Greg Lalevee sports rotation. Greg, we can't thank you enough for giving us a few minutes. It's right before Christmas. We really appreciate what your organization's done to help enable us to do this show every week. We wouldn't be able to do it without you guys. And we're glad we got a few minutes to talk about what you all do because it's important. And so thanks so much for the time. And we hope you have a very Merry Christmas to you and your members.
Thanks. It was great to be with you this morning. We're happy to support the show. You know, as we said earlier, you know, we partner with the teams in MetLife Stadium, but you know, you guys cover an area where a significant part of our members root for those Philadelphia teams. So we're glad to be part of the Philadelphia market also.
We can't thank you enough. We look forward to talking to you again in the new year and continuing the partnership and doing more with you guys. Thanks so much, Greg.
Thanks, Jason. Thanks, Jeff.